Hello and welcome. I'm Glimo. I'm the Keeper of the Chronicles for this Call of Cthulhu Mask of Nyarlathotep campaign on Roll20, streaming to Twitch and YouTube. Welcome to session 35. What horrors will you unearth in China this week? Some quick announcements. I've put together a summary video covering Peru, New York, and London. It's up on my YouTube channel now. I'll be pulling together another video to cover Egypt in the next week or so. If you're a new viewer and want to catch up, these videos will be perfect for you. Even if you've been watching all along or you're one of my players, this might help jog your memory about some of those early days. Um, I'm also going to be playing on AP Gaming Reel's new Cyberpunk 2020 adventures this Wednesday and every Wednesday after that, 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/AP Gaming Reel and simulcast on my channel. So, last session, you arrived in China. You tracked down the Stumbling Tiger Bar. You talked to McChum, who gave you a lot of gossip about the city. You asked him about Jack Brady, and he told you he hadn't heard from him in a long time, but last he knew, Jack was down in Rangoon working on an arms deal. You did a bunch of newspaper research and unearthed a lot of cult ritual murders, with frequency increasing in the last few months. You also found 3 articles from the last few weeks involving strange attacks. So, it is Wednesday, December 2nd, 1925, around lunchtime. You have just left the offices of the Shanghai Bulletin. What are you doing?
Weren't we going to go to the brothel because it was like 2 blocks away or something?
Yeah, I believe it was a couple blocks away from the Stumbling Tiger.
Yes. I know you had talked about going there. You had also talked about tracking down the Seamen's Club. You had also talked about going to the the temple where the monks were killed, and you talked about going to the museum. So, where are we at this week?
I'm up for any of the ideas, whether it's
So,
the
yeah.
museum, the brothel, or anything else.
Okay. I'm just looking at the map.
So this dot here is the Stumbling Tiger Bar,
Okay.
and so you would imagine that the brothel from the newspaper article is probably about here.
Okay. Well, I definitely. Well, we might as well just do the brothel, get it out of the way since it's pretty close by. But I definitely think, on some point, at the very least, we should visit the temple, pay our respects, and see what we can learn. Just because it proved successful, last time in Egypt, visiting a religious site helped us out. So I'm just saying, learn from our successes.
So you are right now at number 8.
Okay.
Number 17 is the Seamen's Club. Way down here in the old city, number 20 is the uh, is the temple, Town God's Temple, and this unnumbered blue dot up here is the Stumbling Tiger. So the Flower Girl house will be down the way a
And
bit.
the museum.
The museum is
16.
16.
So if I'm reading these right, I think we could go to the museum, depending on the day, hit the temple, the Seamen's Club, then the brothel at the end of the day. If we have time. What do you guys say?
So the Seamen's Club's still open, right? Even though it's damaged?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have no preference.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, so where are you going first?
It sounds like the museum, right? Because that's along the chain of walking or transportation.
Okay. Located in the Huangpu district on the border between the international settlement and the French concession, the Shanghai Museum is a fine example of colonial architecture with a soaring clock tower that affords magnificent views over the city. It has a fine collection of exquisite Chinese pottery, screens, statuary, and scrolls, and acts as a clearinghouse of information about pre-Manchu China.
That's like 90% of Chinese history.
It's got it all.
It's got it all.
It's got intrigue and murder.
Explosions. I want to slow walk away from an explosion.
Well, they invented gunpowder here, so they can do that.
Yes, sir.
They're the first ones to do the slow walk away from an explosion.
Well, guys.
So what are we looking for in this museum?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to catch up on all the random notes I took last time. Let me see here.
I don't know. Dragon stuff is cool. There's lots of dragon stuff and that.
Do you think they might have some stuff on maybe some stuff on the history of that? I do believe they worship a bloated woman or something like that. The cult. I can't remember. I just remember there was some type of statue that was basically a heavy-set female, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the Order of the Bloated Woman is the cult in residence here in China. So Anthony Chang, the newspaper guy, had told you that if you were going to the museum, that Mr. Mao is the assistant to the curator.
Is it Mao Zedong?
I do not believe so.
Because I believe he is in Shanghai at this point. So, anyways.
They like to toss in their historical figures in there. Chaosium does. All right.
Is the Cult of the Bloated Woman? Did we determine that was like a cover for the local deep ones over in, was it Dragon Isle or something?
You have
Dragon Island.
You have not really. All you know is that the cult. You believe the cult exists, and that's their name. You have heard various things. Mick Chum told you that he thinks that there's a real deal cult, and Anthony Chang told you that he's heard of the cult but thinks that it's just a cover that one of the street gangs is using.
All right. Well, there should be some historical significance at least. We can go in there ask this guy, we've heard this, we've been doing some research in old religious cults and stuff like that, and see what he has on a historical basis.
Okay. So you go in and you ask for Mr. Mao. and he comes out and says, "Yes, gentlemen, how can I help you?"
I go, yes, my colleagues and we've been traveling extensively, and we're doing researches on um, various old religious aspects and cults, and we had heard in our travels um, of a particular cult from China called the about the bloated woman.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't think that I can help you. We don't really have a whole lot of esoteric religious stuff in our museum. I might be able to come up with give you a list of local scholars that you might be able to ask, though.
Okay, I'm gonna while he's telling me this, I am going to do a psych to see if do I feel like he's being truthful or is he being um, yeah, a little less than honest with us.
Sure.
Not that I don't doubt him, but considering what we've run into,
He could be in the cult.
that's true too. All right, so
You think he is 100% on board?
that's what I figured. All right, no, I would appreciate that. We're just we're interested in we've been to various places. Some things are BS. Some things are false. Some things are true about various research we've
Martin,
done.
you also believe that he is telling the truth. And your quick look around seems to confirm this of what they have on exhibit here.
So
He says how did you know to ask for me?
and I refer back to who had mentioned him.
Okay. So he says, okay, yeah, Mr. Chang, very, very good, very good. Well, gentlemen, if you want to take a walk around the museum for a little bit, I'll pull together a list, and then if you come back and see me in 20, 30 minutes or so, I'll have that ready for you.
Certainly.
Okay.
This may sound interesting. I was wondering, would it be a mythos role or a library use? As if, well, we go through the museum, given what we've seen, see if there's any symbols or anything familiar that might be in similar nature to what we have experienced.
So if you're looking for,
Loot.
Inverted
if you're looking
Weird
for mythos stuff, then
Yeah.
it would be a Cthulhu mythos role. If you're just looking for historical things, then I would accept library use.
I think we're looking for the weird shit.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with it, even though I know it's a long shot. Wow.
92, 94.
Yeah, no, you guys are 100% convinced that there's nothing weird here. I mean, there's it's a big museum. They've got a lot of beautiful silken pottery and all sorts of things on display. The clock tower is beautiful. You can get a good view of the city from up here. But there's nothing here that is
Going to make our not be able to sleep at night.
exactly. Okay, so eventually you come back to the counter, and Mr. Mao says, "Here's a list of all of the various scholars that are willing to do consulting work for the museum. they will all expect to be paid for interviews. Some of these people live in poverty, and so they depend on patrons to give
That's
them
only right
information.
they'd be
Pay them
compensated for their
for
time.
compensate them for their time. And so
And their knowledge.
he hands you over a list. It's quite extensive. There are 34 names on the list.
Are there any very quickly?
Make a luck roll.
Nope.
What the? Everything's in the 90s.
Okay, is the seed for the probability generator off tonight?
Well, think of it this way: we're getting all the bad luck out of the way now.
Can you spend luck on a luck roll?
You cannot spend luck on a luck roll. Wow.
Pull up my knife and play 5-finger fillet and watch me roll something really low this time.
Who hasn't rolled? Someone. I've only see 4. Carl,
Oh,
you want to roll
I
luck?
thought it was just the person reading the list, but maybe
Pass it
this is-
around to everybody.
Hold on a second. What the fuck is going on? Okay. Luck. Where the hell is? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jesse thinks that the 3 names that you guys should look at first are, and I'll put these in the chat here.
How does that work?
Mr. Chang Ning, Madam Lin Yenyu, and Mr. Mu Sen. And you feel free to correct my pronunciation if I'm really butchering this stuff. You just get the feeling, Jesse, that those out of this, those 3 names kind of call to you, that you think you should start with those 3.
Do you guys feel lucky? Do you?
Sure.
Let's go see the madam.
Well, but wait, like, do I know anything about these people?
So all that's written on there is that Chang Ning is an elderly scholar. Madam Lin Yenyu is a wealthy aesthete. How do you pronounce that? So she's a collector.
Debutante.
Yeah. But an older lady. Yeah. And Mr. Mu is the museum's former assistant curator. So Mr. Mao took over for Mr. Mu.
And these are people we think would know, like, occultish history.
Yes.
Interesting.
And it's not the madam of the brothel, like Ms. Mona.
No. At least that's not what you think is implied here.
Yeah.
And do we know where these people live? Does it give an address or a place we can?
So Mr. Chang Ning lives nearby in a small house. The others' addresses are not on here, but there are some phone numbers so that you can possibly set up appointments.
Okay.
Apparently, Mr. Chang must not have a phone.
We could, since he lives near here, we could as we hit his place, and even if he can't see us today, we can set up an appointment for later, and then we can continue walking down to the Siemens. What do you guys think?
Sounds like a good plan.
Works for me.
Yeah, especially since he used to be a former assistant here.
No, that's not Chang Ming.
That's the last guy.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we will head to the one that lives near here.
Okay. So you head to the apartment of Mr. Chang. It's a small house not far from the Shanghai Museum. So you knock on the door, and Mr. Chang answers. He's an older man. You would guess he's in his 70s. And he seems quite surprised to see the five of you on his doorstep. And in kind of halting English, he says, "Yes, can I help you?"
Yes, we're been going around the world doing research on various lost religions and cults, and we heard that you might be an expert on some ones that we've heard about in China.
I see. And how did you get my name?
And I mentioned the assistant curator at the museum had given us his name amongst many others to help us in our research.
Arcane ritual. Your name was spelled out on a Ouija board.
Successful luck roll. I kid you not. Picked you out of the phone book.
That probably wouldn't sound as ridiculous in Shanghai as it would like in America.
True.
Nice.
You're not.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
So he says, "Well, I can spare half an hour now. I would normally ask a sum of $20 for a consultation."
Wow, that's super. Is that U.S. dollars? You gotta have the good stuff.
Yeah, I gladly give him. I gladly give him 20.
So he leads you into his house, and you can see that he's definitely a huge bookworm. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of books and scrolls and other texts laid out in his study. And so he gestures for you all to sit down, and says, "So what can I tell you about?"
In our travels, and we have come across a reference, a particular cult reference several times. We've even seen a statue to it, and we've heard it's from China. It's known as the Bloated Woman.
So the whole time you're talking, he's just nodding his head, and then he says, "Ah, yes, the Order of the Bloated Woman. The Order was once one of the most dread secret societies in China. The Order worshipped a dark god, and at one time was much feared throughout the coastal regions of China. The dreaded Fujian pirates that once plagued the country's coasts were said at times to take instructions from the Order. Some described those in the service of the Order as reputedly wielding powerful magic against its enemies. The Order controlled much until it inevitably died out with the coming of the modern age. I very much doubt that the order still exists.
I'll say.
Uh, I nod as I said. Is there anything? Were they known? Where were their areas of focus in China? You know, as where like as in their
Largely along the coastal regions.
mm. And I'm writing notes down, and um, that's very interesting. You know, we had, like I said, we had come across reference of it, and when I saw that statue in our travels, I was just like um, impressed at the same time. You know, the art is not for the weak-willed.
If I
Or,
may ask, where did you see such a statue? I myself have not seen anything outside of text. I've never seen a statue before.
ran across it, I do believe, England. Don't remember exactly where I saw it there, but it was in England.
That's very strange indeed.
Well, you know the English, they go everywhere. They take a piece of everything. Who knows what they might have taken from various places.
True enough. True enough.
Can I ask? He's this guy mentioned Fujian.
Yes.
It's across the Taiwanese Straits from Taiwan. It's pretty far south from here. Did they or they operate up the coast as far as Shanghai?
I found a little bit of record that, but for the most part, it's been in the south of China, and in uh, some of the archipelagos off the coast. Very very little uh, deeper into the mainland.
What's the reference to the bloated woman about?
The god that they worship, her form is of a 600 pound woman with tentacles for arms and tentacles coming out of her mouth.
Do any of her followers look like human fish hybrids?
Alien human hybrids.
Have they got the Innsmouth look?
I don't know that I've never seen that in the records.
Mm. At least we have a better idea that this cult actually did exist at one time point, and that will help us with our writings.
Yes, definitely.
They
But
have
I would say that there have not been I have not seen any historical reference to the cult in over 500 years.
Did they have
Now,
any-
while he's saying that, and I'm just listening to him, I'm also doing a psych to just see if do I feel like he's telling the truth? Of course, I'll probably blow it, but that's the fun part.
You're absolutely convinced that he's 100%
Yeah,
on board with you.
I ask him, is there any imagery or iconography that associate or symbol that would be, a mainstay identifying mark between the cult between themselves? The same way that, say, in modern days, the Christians have the cross, Jews have the Star of David.
It was rumored that everyone who was a member of the cult had a tattoo in their armpits.
Anything specific?
So
Just tattoos.
he I will turn this into a handout, but he pulls out a scroll that has these characters on it.
Okay.
And I'll turn this into a handout and put it into
It's always
Roll 20.
interesting to hear about these, these various religions and cults that used to have so much influence back in their day. We know so little about, the history of not only ourselves but other cultures and how they played influences. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Of
I
course.
dated a girl with that tattoo. She said it says bravery. I know that you run in some of the same circles here. I think the statue that we found was located in London, and it had something to do with the Ho Fang import-export. Is there something, is that something that he deals in, or have you come across him in your dealings with antiquities?
I'm sorry. I don't know that name, but I mostly concern myself with my books these days.
And I'll do another psych, even though I blow all of them.
Is he scared of the gangster?
Considering how I've been rolling, I'll never know.
I just want to see who reacts when we say Ho Fang.
Whoops, sorry, I only did psychoanalysis. My fault. Here's why I should have rolled. Doesn't matter, I suspect anyway. Nope, I don't know. I don't believe anything. I'm trying to be fair. I had rolled the wrong thing.
Yeah, you believe that that he is being 100% truthful.
Shoot, that would have been a hard success otherwise.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to be honest about it.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, all right, and we thank him. And unless you guys have, is there any other questions you guys, gentlemen, have?
I think we may have a follow-up meeting with you at some point once we get a little bit deeper into our research. You might be able to expand on it a little bit. So we will definitely keep you in mind.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and please feel free to call again if you think of anything else.
Yes, and thank you.
It is appreciated, Mr. Chang.
Thank you very much for your time.
And
He probably appreciates it a lot for that $20.
Hey, that's what you paid McChum for, for dirt. So
yeah,
he might be a scholar, but apparently he knows the going rate for information.
yeah. Well, at least we found out a little bit more about the history. Considering how is after we leave the place, I mentioned to the other guys as we're walking along, and considering how many books and stuff, he might not know a whole lot about what's going outside of that house.
Okay, and I have now given you this as a handout so that you can see it better than in my small webcam window. Didn't think you were going to get that one tonight, so didn't have it ready.
Cool. It's a little bit more information.
Hey, we're players. We zig when you think we're going to zag.
Yeah, exactly.
So, bloated woman is literally big, fat woman.
With tentacles.
Yes.
So she can hug you and squeeze you and call you George.
Okay.
I guess we're heading to the Siemens. Since that would be what's next, that would be the next closest.
Okay. So you go to the Seamen's Club. It appears to be both a bar and a bar restaurant, as well as having cheap lodging for sailors in town. It has definitely.
It's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's on the Bund. Maybe the Bund is very different 100 years ago, but now it's like that's a super nice part of Shanghai.
It wasn't great, apparently, in 25, at least according to the background material in.
Gentrification happens all the time.
So you can tell that the club definitely did take some damage. I will take a geology, science engineering at regular success, or a mechanical repair at hard, if you would like to find some more information out.
Okay, let's take a look.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
There you
I
go.
finally used that in this campaign.
Nice.
Science engineering. Let's see. Failed the
Okay.
first time.
Well, with Martin's hard success for mechanical repair, so the newspaper article that you had read about this, just to refresh everyone's memory, that had said that seepage undermined a portion of the embankment upon which the club stands, causing it to collapse. You find no apparent sign of seepage undermining the structure. You believe that something else caused the collapse.
Strange creatures.
Were they half Patrachian and half Athaic creatures who undermined the supports for the building? Well, yeah. If I take a look, down by the river, can I see get a better idea of what actually caused the collapse?
With a hard success, the only thing that you know is that it definitely wasn't seepage. You're not really sure what it was, but you definitely know that it wasn't seepage as was claimed.
Okay, knowing that, can I attempt to make another roll on my engineering now that it's been pointed out to me the obvious?
I'll say yes, but you're going to need an extreme to get any more information.
Fair enough. Might as well try.
Nope.
Not in the cards today.
The dice
pushing.
hate me.
These ones are too sneaky.
Yes.
So the club is still
Who wants to
open.
go swimming?
If you want to.
Yes. I'm going to go in.
There were the newspaper article said there were like people from other nearby taverns who thought they saw strange creatures.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to.
So we can do the rounds.
Yeah, we're going to do the rounds, but I'm going to go in here first, go to the bar, order a drink, and,
Hello. How can what can I get you?
Seeing what they have, what looks like, what's on their shelves.
Nothing highbrow or anything, but
All right. I'll go with a scotch.
It it tastes remarkably of kerosene, but
Yeah, I expected that.
it'll get the job done
Mhm.
and run an engine.
Hmm. I said, hey, it sounds like you. I've heard through the grapevine this place was blurrily shaking.
Yes, you probably noticed the wall outside that is in desperate need of repair.
Uh, what happened?
Not really sure. The engineers tell us that the foundation gave way, but all I know is that the external wall came down. Poor guy who was staying in there. I don't know what happened to him. He was an American guy. Said his name was John Smith. But he was staying in the room directly facing the shattered wall. We didn't find any trace of him, so we assume that he either escaped or is somewhere at the bottom of the river.
I pull out because I I assume we have some of the pictures that we've gotten of the Carlisle group.
Okay.
And I gotta go, and I just pull that out. I said, pointing to the men here, uh, would it be any of these men here?
So he says, "Yes, actually," and points right at the picture of Jack Brady.
Hmm. Okay.
I
Well,
ask
hopefully,
him,
go ahead.
Says,
uh,
friend of yours?"
Acquaintance more along the lines. We've heard he's been around. It's just a hard man to track down.
Yeah, he was staying here for a few days before everything happened. Well, if you find him, let me know, because I've
Oh, of
you know
course.
been on my mind since he disappeared.
of curiosity, about how old is this building?
I believe that the building was built about 40 years ago.
Hmm.
Out of character, did we hear that Jack Brady was in Rangoon doing an arms deal?
Yes, that is what
Mm-hmm.
McChum told you.
Mm-hmm.
But he got. When did this thing at the Seaman Club happen?
I believe it was 6 weeks ago.
Was that when Brady was supposedly heading down to Rangoon?
And he was seen after that at the bar, I believe.
So McChum told you that that he hadn't seen Brady in months, and that the last he heard that Brady was heading down to Rangoon. I'm just yes. So Siemens Club damage was 6 weeks ago.
We got to rescue Jack Brady from the deep ones.
Do we?
Did we really?
Well, was anyone else hurt during this whole thing?
It was a hit.
No, fortunately.
Oh, thank goodness.
You know,
I
at least it was on the far side of the building, so away from the bar. The only thing there is that guest room.
That's a shame. I was just asking because I'm a bit of an engineer myself, and if it had been a much more recent building, you could have gone after the builders.
Ah, yes.
Because I know how insurance sometimes can screw you. Not wanting to come through, after you paid for coverage for so long.
Yes. Well, hopefully our we'll be able to put things right and won't have to close for renovations.
Maybe you can talk to AIG. I believe that they are on the bond right now.
All right. I finish up my drink and um, I leave him a good tip. And
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And I will let the guys lead me to the next place because I think they wanted to find out a little bit more of what hit the place. So we're going to take a look around outside and see what established bar or establishment that is nearby that would have had a good view of what happened.
Sure. So there's another nautical themed bar just down the way called the Rusty Anchor that seems like it would be a good choice.
We'll head over that way.
Okay.
Yeah, while we're heading over there, let's kind of go down along the water and kind of look around. I'm gonna spot hidden here down by the water to see if I
and I'm gonna
anything.
What are you looking for?
Looking for anything that's out of the ordinary coming from the water to the establishment, whether it's footprints or just something that isn't natural.
So it's been 6 weeks, so there's not a whole lot that's I mean there's still some debris from the wall that are in there. Um with a hard spot hidden, I'll say that yes, in like some of the soaked drywall that's in there, you find it's really weird looking. Like it's a you think it's a footprint, but it doesn't appear to be a shoe. It almost looks like someone's wearing scuba fins.
Is it halfway between like a frog leg and something a fish would have?
Is it very deep, like it was made by a 600-pound woman with webbed toes?
It is not does not look like it's from a 600-pound woman, but it does look
Does it look like a frog?
it looks like a guy who, a normally sized guy, but who's wearing scuba fins.
I'm gonna do a spot hidden, but I'm just casually making sure we're not checking to see if we're being followed.
Okay.
Look at the river. There might be deep ones spying on us.
So with a hard spot hidden, Lewis, you actually notice that there's two different groups that are or people that are looking at curiously at you. There's a middle-aged Japanese man who's looking at you, and he's by far the more stealthy of the two. Then there's a Chinese woman that is also looking at you, and she's a lot more obvious. You spot her first.
All right.
Honestly, the only reason you even notice the Japanese man, you remember that he was in the bar.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I
remember that.
Last night, acting super drunk.
Mm-hmm. All right. As they're looking down there, and I guess I'm just gonna, as they're all looking at that footprint, I'm gonna casually say, "Don't look around." But we have at least two people who seems to be, if not following us, at least watching us. One's a Chinese woman of such a description, and the other one is the Japanese man that was at the Stumbling Tiger Bar. Just wanted you guys to be aware of that, so that if we're walking around later on and we keep on, it'll give you a chance, have a better chance of noticing. But it seems that someone is aware that we're in town, have no idea about why the Japanese man is following us. But the Chinese makes me concerned that maybe the cult might be aware of us.
Oh, it wouldn't be normal if we hit town and we didn't manage to piss off somebody in a cult.
Yeah, I just wanted to warn you, gentlemen, without letting them know that we noticed. I want to definitely want to try to corner that Japanese man later on, but when it's our time. Uh, so we go into the. Well, I'm going to head in. Do you guys, gentlemen, still want to go into this our bar, or do you feel you are satisfied by what you've seen?
Let's take a look there too. That way we can keep and see how well these people are determined to follow us. Plus, the other thing is, let's always make sure that we're not one of them is not actually following us, but maybe following the other person.
That's right.
Okay. So you head into the bar. And the bartender kind of looks and goes, "Oh, gentlemen, what can I get you to drink?"
I order the same thing I ordered at the last place.
Okay, so the whiskey is not quite as rough here as it was at the other place.
And I go, yeah. I heard that you guys in the neighborhood had some excitement 6 weeks ago.
Ah, you must be talking about the Seamen's Club.
Yeah, I've been hearing some stuff. The newspapers say something about engineering, but there's been strange stuff percolating through gossiping ears. About other things, and what do you guys?
So at this point, there's a patron a little bit down the bar who's like, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and this guy's already pretty sauced.
Yeah.
And he comes over and says, "Man, I was here that night. I swear that there were a whole bunch of creatures that came up out of the sea that looked like walking fish. They took the side of that building down. It wasn't no engineering failure. It was these fishmen."
How many fishmen?
As he's saying this, I'm looking at the bartender to get the idea of how much I should trust this guy. What he's saying.
So the bartender just kind of shrugs and says he's been telling that story since it happened.
Well, I'll admit my engineering is a little my trade, and there is a few inconsistencies that I could see there.
Fishmen, I'm telling you, it's fishmen. And he goes and starts, describing the fishmen. I will take a Cthulhu Mythos roll at this point.
Oh, why not? Cthulhu Mythos is the only thing I honestly ever really feel not too bad about failing.
Yeah, I never feel bad about missing that one either.
Jesse got the closest with a 26 out of 13.
13 Cthulhu Mythos. What about is it Alistair?
I've got 25.
You got 25, but you rolled a 43.
But yeah, I missed.
It's not like I would imagine we're going to encounter them at some point.
Yeah. I go, I listen to the gentleman.
It's like, why did it have to be fish?
Yeah, I go look at him. And where'd they go off to? You saw them come out of the water. Where did you happen to see where they headed off to afterwards? I mean, obviously back in the water, but
I didn't stick around after that. I got the hell out of here.
Was there any
Oh.
ships or nearby in the?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that's a good question to ask.
Do we know how far Dragon Island is from Shanghai?
300 miles.
Really intrigued by this.
Be a heck of
Alright.
a swim.
I go. I enjoy my drink while there, and I look at the bartender and say, "Yeah,
Every few minutes, so Wong has gone back to his friends and is drinking with them again. But every like 5 minutes, he just screams out, "Fishmen! I'm telling you, fishmen!"
okay." Does this place have another exit, or just the one we came in?
We've got the service entrance out back that goes to the garbage cans, but not for patrons.
Mm.
Flip him a couple bucks.
Yeah, I give him a $5. We didn't go out this way,
Very good.
and
For another 10, you weren't ever here to begin with.
I slip him the R5. I like your way of talking, and I said, and that same goes for me. I didn't see you either, and we go out the back.
Very good. You go
See
out
if
the
we can-
back.
and try to give those two the slip, and we will take a roundabout way of getting to the temple. I do believe we're heading to next.
You're
correct?
heading to the temple?
And since we're all paranoid, let's see. I guess we should do some rolls to see if we're still being trailed.
Yes.
Fun. I succeeded finally.
You believe that for now, anyway, you have managed to slip your tails.
Maybe
Alright.
Seamus can start developing some deep diving torpedoes for the local deep one city that we probably have to deal with.
Yeah, that after it hits him, that also covers him with tartar sauce afterwards.
I was thinking more if I need to do research in the St. Elmo's fire.
Oh my god.
All right.
Should we start looking for fishmen artifacts and artwork in the nearby stores?
Fishmen.
Okay, so you head over to the town god's temple in the old city. The garden from the article is directly behind there.
All right. And we go in.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Bonza, the Buddhist priest at the temple, says, "Yes, my brothers, how can I help you today?"
Yes. We have heard that your temple has had recent poor luck as of recently.
Yes, about a month ago there was a fire in the garden, and 3 of my monks perished in the flames.
Hmm. This is
There was we had
Sorry,
some pavilions set up in the garden, and apparently a brazier must have knocked over and set the pavilion alight, and the monks were unable to escape the flames.
Now, Keeper, correct me if I'm wrong. Did our characters hear that there had been a rumor going on that it might have been something more than that, like some type of creature, very much.
So you didn't. So what you have is in the article, China 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wasn't there something in there about the flames moving?
Eyewitnesses, second paragraph, eyewitnesses remarked that the evening fire leapt in an uncanny fashion from one blazing structure to chase the fleeing monks into a second pavilion. A floating cloud of fire followed them, according to Mr. Lu Chen Dai of Brilliant Poppy Lane. A European was seen leaving the vicinity of the conflagration. Police respectfully asked for this individual to come forward and give his assistance to their investigation.
European. Yeah, we had heard about this, and I make a is it possible to give a donation to help in the rebuilding of to help repair the damage done to the temple?
Oh, of course. I would very much appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. And considering I've been dropping about this much anyway, I figure it wouldn't hurt to drop 20.
Thank you. You're very, very generous, sir.
I have out of curiosity, right? There was when I read the article, some people were saying that the flames seemed to be following the monks.
I don't know. I wasn't here that night. Uh, it does seem strange to me that that both pavilions burned, but who knows with fire? I mean, sometimes.
Did you get a chance to meet this European that was there?
Yes, earlier in the day he had come in to
Right.
to the temple.
Did he say who he was or where he was planning to go?
No, he just he asked to see the temple and then asked if he could walk out into the gardens, and of course I gave permission because we allow anyone to come and go in this place.
Pull out a certain picture again and go, would that person actually be one of these people, one of these men in this picture?
Yes, and he points to the picture of Jack Brady.
Okay. Yes.
Just wondering here. You forgive the ignorance of a Westerner here, but your Buddhist sect, is there differ from the others here, or is large?
We all have our own different way of following the teachings of the Buddha, but I don't know that you'd say that there's anything particularly different about what we do. We also do a lot for the community. We give meals to the poor on the weekends.
May we also walk around in the to pay homage in the temple and go to the garden?
Of course, some parts of the garden are still off limits, as they're still going to be demolishing the pavilions. But as long as you stay away from the areas that are clearly marked, you are welcome here.
And I bow to him and to say thank you. You guys have anything else you want to ask him? All right, so I'm gonna look in the temple. What I'm looking for is what might have caught the eye. What maybe are the person that we're kind of looking for. Obviously, he's not our friend, but I figure the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm taking a look at the temple to see if there's anything there that would you know, be something huge. I figure it's maybe a Cthulhu mythos or a cult at least.
I
I'm
will take.
thinking
I will take. Honestly, I would take a. Uh, do you have is his? I would take a history. Um, history or archaeology or anthropology.
all right. Well, I don't. Yeah, that's for other people. I do believe. I don't believe any of my stuff is good.
History
Alistair
roll,
did it.
success. So, one of the things that you notice, Alistair, is that there are a number of texts going back quite a long ways. Thousands and thousands of years. There are some really pretty ancient. Um, going back to at least 1,000 years
All right.
to the early Sung dynasty.
So I say it appears as though your order is quite old. Some of these texts are, dare say, ancient. These are some really old texts, and
Would some of them
Yes.
fall into that period of what the scholar was saying of the cult?
So the scholar told you that the cult hadn't been heard of in the last 500 years. So uh, the Sung dynasty, the monk tells you, yes, we the gentlemen who the monks who perished, my brothers, they were all scholars of the Sung dynasty, which spanned from, in your reckoning, 960 to 1279.
And I go, Mister. I look at Alistair. I look at Alistair and the monk and said, and what section of the library would that be dealing with?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Which books and what section of this library would deal with that time period?
So it's not a library. It's that they've got a number of texts that are religious texts that are on display. It's not a
Oh, okay.
library.
Oh, okay. All right. Does it just looking at does there seem to be any of them missing? Not like I would know what's missing, but does there look like to be an empty spot where something should be?
I would need, because you don't speak much Chinese and you don't know any history. I don't know that you have the ability to make this roll.
All right. I mentioned it to Alistair, then I'll go, Alistair.
I would you would need an extreme spot hidden.
Who, me or Alistair?
Alistair, if you were going to try to look for anything.
Okay.
This isn't your place, so you would have no idea what they have.
Okay.
so I asked if there was any special area of specialization by these monks. Was it anything specific about the dynasty that they focused on?
They were studied language. Our language was very different 1,000 years ago, so they were very adept at the language of that time frame. They did a lot of translation of uh, some of our holy texts from that time period.
Out of these, outside of these three monks, who else in Shanghai would be able to reasonably be able to translate that?
Uh, I'm not sure, honestly. I would imagine that there's probably some scholars, uh, either at the museum or connected with the museum who could do such a thing. But I don't know. I know honestly, I my knowledge of that is passing at best.
Hmm. Is there anything in particular that they were working on at the time of their death? Any specific texts or
No,
anything they were translating?
no. There was no active work that they were doing in there. I mean, there's always work to be done, but no specific projects or anything.
Nothing that they were reading aloud that might have triggered some kind of being in the
Triggered the end of the
woods.
world.
He looks at you askance. I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh,
Nothing bound in human flesh or
yeah.
He looks kind of
Uh,
horrified when you say this.
This is a translation error.
Yeah.
any
He really means
dealings with
bound in
yeah,
leather.
No, I think
connections to the Miskatonic
We
University.
sir.
a number of our older books are leather bound. It helps to preserve them.
I was wondering. We look in legends of different areas that we've been to. Are there any legends in this area of sort of fish creatures or people?
Not that I'm aware of. The
Hmm.
teachings of the Buddha definitely don't include that.
I suspected as much. We just heard something and some various things. Occasionally things get lost and forgotten as they become more obscure, as man becomes more enlightened.
Well, gentlemen, I've got evening prayers to prepare for. If there's
Yeah,
Pray
thank
for
you.
us.
nothing else, you're welcome to wander the grounds and
Now
please enjoy yourselves.
we will head to the garden just to take a look at it, avoiding the areas that are marked off, but seeing if there's anything else there that looks like might have attracted. Though, if it's just the five of us in the garden at the time point ago, you don't think Brady might have found something that needed. He he seemed to be hitting three people who knew how to translate materials from a certain time point. You don't think he found some type of scrolls or book, do you?
It wouldn't be the first time somebody's found something and something else is trying to track them down. If you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
Out of character, when did this thing at the temple happen?
4 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's not in Rangoon, and I was fairly sure McChum wasn't giving us the full line.
We should get our $20 back.
No,
Refund.
no, that I got looking to know that $20 was given with the idea, and I kind of hinted it to him that you know that we would like to see our friend, but at his convenience. So that kind of giving him the idea that we're respecting. I think McChum is protecting him.
Oh.
Personally, um, don't know why, but then again, Brady seemed to be able to put a shine on certain people. So I figure Jack Brady must have done. Uh, you know, he's been known to do things that are helpful. And he seems to have, uncanny luck. Um, I'm hoping that McChum will kind of let him know we're looking for him, but at the same time give the hint of, yeah, we're not gonna hunt, we're not, we would like you to come to us, not, So I figure, I'm hoping that he'll be observing us and maybe decide whether to see us. At least that was what my thought was when I gave that $20. Because I figured we had kind of gotten a clue from England that they were trying to hunt him down. And it's obvious that they are. I mean, Siemens now here. And let's face it, we all know about what happened to our friend in Egypt who had that shop, who made the mistake of crossing the cult. He was visited by some type of floating burning. I never heard of it without the fish things, but it's obvious they're trying to hunt Jack Brady down.
Also out of character on the bas-relief handout for Egypt, the red jewel off of the coast of China, is that where Dragon Island is?
So there wasn't enough detail on the map for you to know for sure. But it certainly fits.
Okay. I think we should spend some time researching deep diving torpedoes.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to go to another island.
Yeah, well,
Undersea assault.
yeah. Is there anything in the garden we noticed that might be? I mean, I figure he was seeing since the three gentlemen were in this garden and kind of hunted down. I figure he was actually talking to them. But I'm looking around the garden to also see if there was anything else here that might be a clue. And I'll look at Alistair and go, Alistair, see if you see anything in the garden here that might be an indication of that dynasty period.
All right, I'll take spot hidden rolls.
All
right, I tried to spot hidden before, but this will be for a different reason.
All right. Ooh,
I failed it.
I had a hard.
Okay. So you don't notice anything in the garden that really catches your eye. However, with your hard spot hidden, you notice that the Japanese man seems to have found you guys again. Your other tail seems to have still not be on the mark, but the Japanese man is. You see him up the block from the garden.
What's the deal with that guy?
Does he have the Innsmouth look?
He does not have the Innsmouth look.
An elliptical head.
Well, if I look at my comrades and go, yeah, I'm fairly sure that we will also see him back at McChum's. Yeah, and I'm saying I'd rather, instead of confront him out in the open, I'd like to be able to confront him in the bar with all of us nearby, so he doesn't have much place to go, if you know what I mean.
Right, over there at least we can buy him a drink and come across friendly instead of
yes. And then
what are you doing?
Yeah, and then go, yeah, we've noticed you've been following us. So yeah, but I marked that down. I also think, all right, he's a little bit better at keeping up with us than I thought, because obviously he was able to figure out what we had done. All right, what time is it right now?
What is it?
By this point, it's probably about 4:00 in the afternoon.
All right, shall we wander back? We could probably hit the museum on the way back and find out if there's anybody else in town that before it closes, if he has any if he knows of any experts in that time period with the
He
language.
gave you the list of all the experts he
Yeah.
has. It was quite long.
I know, but I didn't realize. All right. Well, we had experts about the cult.
He gave you the
not
list of all the
of all the
experts he
experts.
has, and it is quite long.
Okay, so we basically have to go through each one to find out who is who. All right. Sorry there. I was hoping to get something a little bit more specific, but that's okay. All right.
Okay. It's a little after 9. Let's take our quick break here, and then we can pick it up with you guys heading back to the bar.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Sounds like
see
a thing.
everybody back at 10-ish after. And those of you watching live, thank you very much. Enjoy the break music.